We have the Chairman cum Managing Director of National Insurance, Mr. K. Sanath Kumar. And I'm sure we are all eagerly waiting to hear him. But before I ask him to come, I would just like to speak a few words about Mr. Kumar, who joined the non-life insurance industry in 1979 in the initial period of his career and worked with United India Insurance First for almost 2 decades. At United India, he headed branches, divisions, and regions in various parts of the country. He was also associated with business re-engineering, central insurance solutions in IT, rural and micro, and corporate customer relations and distribution channel management at the head office. Subsequently, he moved as General Manager, New India Assurance Limited in Mumbai, and handled distribution channels, IT systems, and core insurance solutions, digital marketing, and also headed the international business operations. He has been the member of Board of New India Assurance, Ken India Assurance, Nairobi, and Prestige Assurance in Nigeria. He also worked as acting CMD for General Insurance Corporation of India at Mumbai before he took over the command of National Insurance Company as its CMD. Mr. Kumar is currently in the board of Indian International Insurance, Singapore, GIC Housing Finance Limited, Agriculture Insurance of India, and Health India TPA Limited. A warm welcome to Mr. Kumar.
Good evening to all of you. Mr. Satish Girotra, the Chairman of the Insurance Committee of PhD Chamber of Commerce, members of the Managing Committee on the dais and off the dais, Mr. Patnaik from the regulator, Mr. Varendra Sinha, the CEO of the IFCO Tokyo Marine General Insurance, ladies and gentlemen. In the beginning, let me compliment PhD Chamber of Commerce for selecting this topic, which is very, very relevant and contemporary, the role of health insurance in the whole scheme of things in healthcare. And the words they have used, insurance, the savior in healthcare, is very quite apt to it, apt to the position of the health insurance and the horizons and best practices. The canvas is too wide, extremely wide to be discussed probably in a day by whatever specialists that we have today here. The canvas is extremely good. This, as the Secretary, Mr. Mishra has mentioned, it's a huge challenge for both the policy makers, policy administrators, and the stakeholders like government players, hospitals, third-party administrators, doctors, the pathological laboratories, diagnostic organizations. It's a huge ecosystem out there. And academics and universities and colleges giving education in healthcare. So all these put together constitute today's Indian healthcare economics, and one of the vital areas is health insurance, which I represent. See, I'd like to make a couple of 2-3 points here. A is about penetration. See, we keep on saying that our penetration ratio is 0.80, as well as is 0.78 to 8, so it keeps on. It's been stagnant for quite a long time now. And we say that this is much lower when compared to, you see Brazil, you see Indonesia, you see Taiwan, you see Britain, and not to speak of US and European countries which are developed. See, there are 3 to 4%, and you look at India, it's only 0.80. See, there is a lot of kind of understanding that this represents the number of population which is covered. It's not so. The ratio is the total premium of the general insurance industry, which is about 1,25,000 crores now, divided by the GDP. Here the problem in the country is that GDP is also growing very fast here at 6-7%, unlike in Western countries. And though your penetration, I'm coming to the health insurance in a minute, though your penetration is 0.80%, as the statistics would show, as Mr. Mishra himself and the book before you also states that minimum we have covered at least 400 million people under some sort of health insurance or other. I'm not talking about full cover, some sort of health insurance, maybe from 30,000 to anything, 400 million. Now this is more than the entire population of the United States. This number is more than the entire population of Europe. This is more than the entire population of, say, Australia or entire countries put together, where they say is a higher advanced kind of penetration. So Indian industry having covered 400 million, probably China would be the only country in the world which would have covered more people under some sort of health insurance than India. So that is the position. But that is not something which is, I'm saying that it is something which is very proud of it, because that also means out of 130 crore population, you have another 190 crore population to be covered. I mean, obviously it means that. But then also it means that there will be a lot of working on who could be the person with some kind of payment capacity to buy a health insurance. Then you bring down the numbers from 130 crores to somewhere, 70 crores, 80 crores. I mean, that is the kind of, there's no real data here. There have been many surveys, many studies and all that, but there is not really kind of, authentic data available on the public domain. So you talk about, but then still you need to cover substantially more. I mean, that remains a fact. That is an elephant in the room. But the fact is that we have covered substantially more. That is A, point number A, which I like to present. B is, today the health insurance as on 31/3/2017 is 30,000 crores as per the GIPSA, I mean, General Insurance Council figures that has come out. IRDA is yet to come out with its official figures, it is 30,000 crores. And it has grown at 25% last year. One of the main contributors to this health insurance is government itself. In 2002, I'm talking about 15 years back, the government of India came out with a unique scheme at that point of time, the Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, which you have mentioned here. It was ahead of those times at that point of time, I would like to mention here. Because we were all involved in implementing that in one state or other at that point of time. Every single below poverty line population ration card holder, every single in a state was brought under the cover by paying only 30 rupees per family. And that the whole interesting thing was, that family was issued a digital card. I'm talking about 2002. A card, a smart card, which empowered that poor illiterate family to suddenly to 30,000 rupees of healthcare in a government hospitals and as well as a private hospital. And all she has to do is to take it to a hospital, swipes it, simple interface, simple front-end interface, but enormously complex back-end. That card talked to that machine talked to another database back in the state government, that database talked to a database of the TPA database talked to insurance database. Huge complex activity was generated by that simple thing. And that person walked out of that hospital without paying a single money by swiping the card up to 30,000 rupees. It was cashless, it was paperless. Absolutely paperless, absolutely cashless, because the insurance companies never saw a piece of paper when they settled the paper. It was all digital. Papers were kept at the hospital. Then the International Labour Organization adopted that as one of the millennium goals, and they tried to adopt it in many of the developing emerging economies, especially in African countries, and then succeeded. Then later, lot of varieties of this RSBY mushroomed elsewhere. Every state government jumped into it, and they tried to increase the 30,000 to 40,000, 50,000, 2 lakh. For example, Tamil Nadu, it is 2 lakh, and then for any kind of special procedures, like even even renal transplant or liver transplant, everything started getting under that. It widened in many places, and the premium was completely kind of absorbed by state government, etc. One point which I will mention in that RSBY, which is very, very relevant, is it is not free. The family paid rupees 30 out of a quota premium of 700. The question arose, why should he pay 30? Because 30 also could be absorbed by the government. Government said no. Those creators of the scheme said that 30 rupees, the family which pays, creates an awareness in that family that they have purchased an insurance policy and they are a consumer of services. They can demand that services and get it. That was precisely the point why the 30 rupees was paid by that family. Insisted on paying that 30 rupees, which could have easily been absorbed either by state government or central government, but that was a critical point. Even today, but many of the state governments have probably overlooked that idea and then went on to kind of, making it absolutely free, which made a lot of difference. Because awareness that I am a citizen of the country, I have this card, and I can demand service from an insurance company on that. It became a charity. And then it lost all its kind of a thing. Then some of the issues which I've taken a couple of minutes after this I came in. But one of the point was, another implement is many of the state governments came up with new, unique ideas in that. While talking about the general insurance as a savior, this is what point I'm talking about. State governments found out a new way. They said government hospital, which is free actually. A person can walk into government hospital below 30 population, it's free. And continued to be free, but they made a system in which the state government started billing insurance companies on a notional basis. So there's no room rent, there's no treatment, but they started billing the insurance company. And that money was paid to the state government, that hospital, not to the state government. It was paid to that hospital, and that hospital used that fund to increase the facilities in those hospitals. It happened in 2 states. It happened in Kerala and in some other Pondicherry or something like that. And each of the hospitals started using that money to create better treatment facility, ambulances, reception centers, diagnostic services, and many other things in that primary health services center. That was an explosive situation. It still happens in India. I mean, you should have to see that there's a lot of things happening there. And at that point of time, many states introduced the generic medicines also along with that, but that did not really succeed due to obvious reasons. But the point was very clear. I get the money from the insurance company, and there is a competition with the government company and the private company. I get the money, and then I use that money to use the facilities into the facility government. So there was a very excellent model of private-public participation in increasing the facility at the primary health center in a hospital through an insurance mechanism. Excellent responses, but then many things happened, it diluted. Today even also almost all the states have this kind. Very interestingly, today in India, most of the BPL population is covered, and it is the middle class and the higher middle class which is not covered so far. Most of the employed persons are covered by their organizations because employees benefit, health insurance is a major component, and many of the organizations vie with each other in offering a better terms to their employees. But there is a huge, unskilled, unorganized labor force and a trade persons who is just above the below poverty line, which is a huge part of it, which has purchasing power, which is not covered by the insurance. This is the challenge here. So when we try to, with general insurance, we have a public sector general insurance, we represent that. When we try to enter and spread the insurance, then we meet with 2 major issues. One is, Mr. Sinha has mentioned, as a moral hazard. See, the point is that I have an insurance policy, so I should get maximum out of that. Why should I leave any amount remaining for the insurance companies? So I go to the hospital, and the hospital also encourages try to get maximum kind of test done or treatment done, which probably may not be required at that point of time. But since there is an insurance policy, let's go and get it. It's sort of free. It doesn't really aware that next year the cost of insurance is going to go up. That doesn't really matter because it's either paid by the employer, there is a subsidy, even if it's there, fine, go ahead. This is an issue which is really forcing. It is not only India. United States, let's talk about United States as the most advanced countries struggling with it. In fact, you would see that most of the presidential elections, healthcare provision to the public is a major issue. Obamacare came, and today Trump is trying to dismantle it. He's struggling hard to dismantle it and coming out with a huge bond. Every year, the best minds in the world, the best computer specialists, the best economists are working overtime to work in a healthcare system. There are at least 4 economists who have taken Nobel Prizes on healthcare economics. the solution is still, it's not that it's a challenge to India. Affordable health care. Now the whole question is how much the state government should be funding, how much should be personal funding, and how much should be a corporate funding. This is the whole question. This is a whole question that US is struggling with it, Europe is struggling with it, Australia is struggling with, any other country is struggling with. Only some of the country like Indonesia and all that gone ahead and spent the entire healthcare by the government itself. Different models. So in India, government has taken care of the BPL up to 30,000 rupees or 40,000 rupees according to various plans. And the top end of the economy, with the super rich would have already taken care of it. There is a huge gap in the emerging middle class, the early middle class, and the unorganized sector. This is the area where we should go, and that is going to boom like anything. As you know, the middle class is going to expand, and India is going to be the youngest country in another 5 years in the world. So huge medical requirements are there, medical insurance requirements, as we are struggling to meet that. One issue is moral hazard. Another issue that really holds back us is adverse selection. When you are young and healthy, you don't care about health insurance at all because you're not going to anywhere near the hospital. So you don't need it. I'm a professional, I'm an advocate, I'm a chartered accountant, I'm a trader, I'm a shopkeeper, I'm a worker, I'm a trader, I'm a plumber, I'm young and I don't need insurance. But that when you move towards 50s, 60s, or even earlier, when you start going to the hospitals, then you find it's too costly. You come to have an insurance policy which invariably translates into some claims. So you have this adverse selection issue. So moral hazard and adverse selection has been a major challenge before the insurance companies, not only in this country, across the world, which we are stuck. So the price goes up, and those who genuinely need cannot afford it because the price has gone up because it's badly used. And they feel excluded out of it, and then and whatever the complaints comes, you have a lot of issues in it. Today, the policy we are issuing, sometimes we wonder, is it a policy of cover or is it a document of exclusions? Gradually, the exclusions have been increasing. In a policy, out of 3 pages, 2 pages would be exclusions now. Are we? Obama, very clearly, one of his presidential addresses, he said, the medical insurance companies in US use the best brains, the best technology in the world. They command that into US to use it to reject claims and not to pay claims. It's true. Data analytics, data predictions, computer-generated simulations, everything is used to see how a claim can be rejected, how a claim can be paid. This is another area where this analytics. There's a huge database outside the public authority, there's a huge database with insurance companies, there's a huge database, pharmaceutical companies, they're all in silos. Today, technically, if you combine the database, the system could predict that if Bihar floods happen, what could be the predominant illnesses and diseases that would happen there based on the data analytics for the past 10 years. And this was the kind of treatment required, and the medical, pharmaceutical storage in that hospitals can be fine-tuned to a substantial focus using this kind of predictive ability. But we do not have this kind of data consolidation in the public domain, though very powerful data analytics and predictive capabilities are available with big data technologies. We have a lot of data. United Insurance Company, which I bracket, what is the geographical, what is the number of claims paid in Maharashtra, number of claims paid in West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, but that is ours alone. It's not a public, the universe which is represented is confined to national insurance companies' experience. Today, IRDA has an IIB, which Mike was mentioning, which collects and consumes and collates a huge amount of data, which is much more reliable. This is the beginning of it. We can really start looking into it. But that is a huge opportunity also. So, to conclude my speech here, the insurance is there, definitely there, but there is a huge challenge further to affordable insurance care to those who are not covered. And BPL is only covered up to 30,000, 1 lakh. How to cover more for them for kind of catastrophic situations? How to prevent the slippage possibly below poverty line due to a serious health situation in the family? How to use data analytics, which is available. Data is available. Only thing is somebody has to collect it and then move on and then move on. And fourth is the need, a crying need for regulator of the hospital. But we have done a lot of work on that by entering into the preferred provider network. We have dealt with hospitals and forced them, literally forced them to come out with some kind of a package rate, which we said very good. And many of the hospitals, which has been resisting the whole thing, how can you control our rates? We will not join this, are slowly moving in and increasing the PPA numbers because they know it's a cash flow for them. Insurance is increasing, and we have a much more kind of what you call as a negotiating power. If we have issued a crore of health insurance policies, we have more negotiating, bargaining power with the hospitals. We look here, if you do not come down our line, we will not send our patients to you, or we will not give them a cashless facility. A lot of things are happening in this country. It's an exciting area, and that is why the whole relevance of this kind of seminars called by PhD Chamber of Commerce has. Again, one thing, it's extremely relevant. I mean, I hope somebody sums up the whole discussions that is happening here and creates a document out of it, which would be very, very valid how the country moves ahead in the times to come. Thank you very much.
Good evening, the distinguished panel. Some very eye-opening remarks made by Shri K. Sanath Kumar ji. Thank you very much for that enlightening information, especially of comparing the 40 crores of insured people to populations of various countries and how we progressed on that. And otherwise, it gives a very dim picture of the existing healthcare system. Now, my question to you is that you were talking of the RSBY scheme, which had covered quite a few people in the States. Whether that scheme really exists even as of now, and are people, because there were a lot of malpractices which we understand started to happen under the RSBY scheme. So whether that still continues, one. Two, if it is continuing, is it being expanded further? And if it has been discontinued, is there any replacement of that? So that's my question number one. Number two is, there are alternate medicines which are available, alternate healthcare, which is Ayush if we talk about. Is the health insurance sector seriously considering to cover the healthcare delivery or the wellness as we like to call it when it comes to Ayush through the insurance? You know, because today it's only the modern medicine and surgeries and other things which are being picked up. So is there any plan or are there any initiatives already taken to cover healing through the traditional medicine? And my last but not the least is that we've not really seen OPDs being covered under insurance, which was also something which our president talked about. So is there any way forward on that? I mean, these are my three quick questions, please.
Thank you for the question. Question A is, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana is very much in vogue. This is the flagship scheme of the government of India. And in almost many of the states it's still there. Many of the states have improved upon it by adding more. See, it's originally intended below poverty line population only. Many of the states have added unemployed, unorganized labor. They have organized more than below population to some other levels. So many of the states like Tamil Nadu, like Maharashtra, like Andhra Pradesh have really expanded on that, and higher sum insureds have been offered. So it is there. It is there in the sense that there is a central government and a state government participate. The central government is very clear. They will participate only up to the Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana component of the whole scheme. Remaining premium has to be met by the state government. Especially if the family also pays, as you say, a token amount in many of these cases. It is there. It is, as he said, this is a National Health Protection Scheme is already been designed by the Government of India. It was supposed to have started in 1/4/2017 and it has been postponed to 1/4/2018 as on now, which would subsume this Rashtriya Swasthya Bima and other state schemes. Now the whole problem there is how to subsume state schemes which are sometimes much more expanded than the standard scheme that the Government of India has. It is there. So that is B is, we are very much into Ayush, but then we have a control on that. See, the hairline difference between a wellness treatment and a genuine treatment arising out of illness in Ayurveda and these kind of things are very, very delicate lines. So we said in most of our public sector insurance policies, we said Ayurveda things are covered, provided the treatment is taken in a government recognized hospitals or insurance company recognized hospitals. To that extent, we do cover. IRDA, as Mr. Patnaik has mentioned, insists that this Ayurveda, Unani, and Homeo and the other treatments have to be covered, some sort of. So, but we are very reluctant because there's not a lot of transparency about the kind of treatment that undergoes there in the public domain. So this is something which, but we do cover that to some limited extent. B, C is this OPD. This is something which has been a matter of kind of dispute for us. Because suppose I give a cover to someone for 2,000 rupees OPD in a year, it invariably would be consumed. 2,000 rupees would be consumed because the very fact that you have an OPD cover drives a person to a hospital. And okay, let me go and have some kind of test. There are some electronic systems which we can cover because we are trying to work with some of the software companies to have a coupon system. So they have to generate a coupon and that you have only limit number of coupons to exhaust before you go to a hospital. Some kind of control can be brought about it. But frankly, most of the insurance companies are entering OPD with some kind of reluctance because as health insurance ratios are quite high, we are bleeding in that, loss-making, huge loss-making. So to go into these areas is slightly reluctant. But there is a lot of activity going on. Some of the private sector companies, standalone, has already come out with OPD covers. It's not that it's not completely available there, but not universally widely available. I hope I